When you hear the phrase fountain pen, it immediately evokes an image of elegance, sleek barrels, smooth nibs, and ink flowing gracefully onto paper. But have you ever stopped to wonder why it's even called a fountain pen? After all, there's no fountain, no decorative marble sculpture, and certainly no water cascading anywhere near your notebook. Yet the name persists, sounding almost poetic, almost mysterious. In today's video, we're diving deep into the history, the engineering, and the linguistic origins behind one of the most iconic writing instruments in human history, the fountain pen. By the end of this video, you'll understand not only why it carries that intriguing name, but also how its invention transformed writing forever. Let's explore, right here, on History of Simple Things. To understand the term fountain pen, we first have to rewind to a time before it existed, back when writing tools were far less convenient. For centuries, people relied on dip pens, which were exactly what they sound like, pens that needed to be dipped repeatedly into an ink bottle. They used quills, reeds, or metal nibs mounted on simple holders, and while these tools worked, they were messy, inconsistent, and incredibly inefficient. A writer had to constantly stop mid-thought just to replenish the ink. Imagine writing an essay or signing an important document while stopping every few seconds because your pen ran dry. The idea of a pen that could hold its own ink, one that acted as its own reservoir, felt like an impossible dream. And yet, that dream is exactly where the key to the word fountain begins. The term fountain pen comes from the concept of an internal fountain of ink, a built-in supply that allowed the pen to feed ink to the nib automatically. Instead of dipping the pen like a quill into an external pot, the ink flowed from inside the pen itself, almost like a miniature fountain or spring. The earliest inventors described the design as having an ink fount, an old word that simply meant source or reservoir. Over time, that word evolved into fountain, not because it gushed ink everywhere, but because it continuously provided ink. The name is really a metaphor, an elegant way of saying that the pen carries its own internal source of ink. But the leap from dip pens to fountain pens didn't happen overnight. In fact, inventors spent centuries trying to create a self-feeding pen that didn't leak, clog, or explode in someone's pocket. There are early references as far back as the 10th century, where an Egyptian caliph supposedly commissioned a pen that would not stain his hands. Later, in the Renaissance, inventors such as Leonardo da Vinci sketched designs for self-contained writing instruments. But none of these early attempts became practical for everyday use. The biggest problem was controlling the ink flow. Ink needed to move from the reservoir to the nib at just the right speed, not too fast, or it would splatter, and not too slow, or the pen would skip. This delicate balance required precise engineering that simply wasn't available until much later. The breakthrough finally came in the 19th century, when advances in manufacturing made it possible to create reliable feed systems and airtight barrels. Suddenly, a pen with a built-in reservoir was not just a curiosity, it was a practical tool. The design allowed ink to flow naturally due to gravity and air pressure, creating a smooth and continuous writing experience. And because the pen carried its own ink supply inside its body, it truly functioned like a tiny fountain of ink waiting to be released onto paper. That's when the name fountain pen became widespread and official. What made the fountain pen revolutionary wasn't only the convenience of carrying ink inside the pen, it was also the writing quality. Fountain pens use liquid ink, which glides onto the page effortlessly. Unlike ballpoint pens that require you to push down, the fountain pen only needs the gentlest touch. The capillary action, the same phenomenon that helps plants draw water upward, pulls the ink to the nib. This is why fountain pen writing feels so smooth and controlled. The name fountain doesn't just describe the internal ink reservoir. It also captures the graceful, flowing nature of the writing itself. As fountain pens grew in popularity, they became symbols of sophistication and education. Students, professionals, authors, and even politicians used them daily. Literary classics were written with them. Important treaties were signed with them. Families passed them down as heirlooms. And throughout all of this, the name reinforced an image of a tool that was more than just a pen. It was a refined instrument with its own internal wellspring of ink. Even when ballpoint pens entered the market in the mid-20th century and pushed fountain pens out of everyday use, the older name persisted because it carried a sense of tradition and craftsmanship that ballpoints simply couldn't replace. Today, the fountain pen stands as both a functional writing tool and a collector's item. Modern designs come with cartridges, converters, piston fillers, and all kinds of feeding systems, but the core idea remains unchanged. The pen holds its own ink source, delivering it steadily and elegantly to the paper. And that's the real reason behind its name. The fountain inside the fountain pen isn't a dramatic spray of ink. It's a continuous supply, a controlled flow, a reservoir designed to make writing smoother, cleaner, and more expressive. So the next time you pick up a fountain pen, remember that its name carries centuries of invention, linguistic evolution, and engineering brilliance. It reminds us of a time when writing required patience and precision. It celebrates the moment when human creativity found a way to bring ink inside the pen itself. And most importantly, it highlights the timeless beauty of handwritten expression. A fountain pen is more than just a tool. It's a tribute to the simple act of writing, powered by a tiny, elegant fountain hidden inside. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.